Good morning. Today on Spotlight, inside the global auto industry and the 2019 North American International Auto Show on full display in downtown Detroit. What's hot, what's not, who's on first, second, and third. Longtime automotive journalist, commentator, and analyst John McElroy of WWJ News Radio 950 will share his insight. And later, I'll travel down to Cobo Center to talk to auto show leaders. It's Sunday, January the 20th. I'm Chuck Stokes, and this is Spotlight. And welcome to Spotlight as we get ready to dive into the auto industry, and no one better to do that than the man to my left, John McElroy. John, good seeing you. Welcome back to Spotlight.
Thanks so much, Chuck. Really appreciate it.
All right, let's start with the industry itself. We'll work our way to the auto show. Is the luster off, and is this a year in which we got to buckle our seatbelts for a bumpy ride in the auto industry?
You know, this cracks me up, Chuck. Everybody's talking about, oh my gosh, things are going to slow down. We're headed into a recession. It's going to be bleak and dire for the auto industry. I look at car sales last year. They were up. I don't see any sense of a slowdown. Now, I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but I'm just amazed at how we're all wringing our hands and worrying about what's going to happen, and we just came off a fantastic year.
Why do you think that? Is that partly because we went through a really rough period not terribly long ago? We know it's a cyclical kind of business, and everybody's saying, well, let's be a little more cautious this time, but maybe there's no reason to be?
It's all that, and it's what's in the news right now. The government shut down. Their interest rates are on the rise. We may be entering into a full-blown trade war. You put all that on top of it, and everybody's worried about the future. Now, I don't want to be a Pollyanna. We got to be aware of these kinds of things. But so far, there is no sign whatsoever of car sales slowing down.
All right. Of the automakers, at least in terms of the press and the news reports, the appearance would be that GM is on the hot seat right now. Whether it's because of the strikes, closing down plants, maybe not doing it in the best PR way. Mexico, the Blazer. Are they feeling some heat over at GM?
Yeah, they are. I mean, I think what GM thought...
And should they be?
Yeah, they should be. Of course, you got to worry about these kinds of things. They came out and they were a lot of bravado. Hey, we're closing these plants. We're laying off these people. They thought Wall Street would love it. And it did. And Wall Street loved it. But they knew there was going to be blowback on these announcements, especially from the UAW and from Unifor in Canada. But I think this is me sort of parsing what's going on. They thought in today's news cycle, there'll be all this blowback, but in 2 days we'll be off the news cycle and we'll have this behind us.
And it hasn't.
It didn't happen that way. Yeah. They're still in the headlines about this. So I think they miscalculated on how they should communicate this.
Sure. And then you got to remember that now they've got both Democrats and Republicans in Washington upset with them. And this is a government that just a few years ago, under the Obama administration and the handoff from the George Bush administration, saved this industry. It
did. And, you know, there's a sense of betrayal on a lot of people's parts, not just in the unions, but even taxpayers going, wait a minute, we bailed them out and now they're doing all this. From a business standpoint, this is something that General Motors has to do. That they don't have a choice in this, really. Could they have done
smart business decisions, but maybe not done in the best PR way.
Correct. Well, look at what Ford did. It eliminated some shifts, but it came out and said, hey, we're placing all these workers. They got out in front by saying that. No one's going to lose their job. We're going to put them in other places. We're going to try to take care of people. That's probably the way that GM should have done it. They should have said, hey, we're working on transferring these people. We're working on helping them find other jobs, whatever it was. They didn't lead with that. They led with something they thought Wall Street would love. Hey, we're closing plants and getting rid of people.
All right. One thing Ford did this week was this partnership with Volkswagen. How's that going?
Not good, I don't think. You know, Ford made the announcement. Its stock went down. We in the media were expecting something much more of an announcement. They actually canceled their press conference. They let this out. They did it with a press release, and then they had some phoners where the media could talk to both Ford and Volkswagen. But they canceled their press conference. So that tells me the negotiations are not going the way they were supposed to go. They were supposed to announce this on Monday, the first day of media. Right. They pushed it to Tuesday. They canceled their press conference. They announced things that we already knew. And that's why the price went down of their stock.
FCA.
Boy, are they rocking. I am so impressed by FCA. I did not know this company could be as good as it's risen to be. Now, Sergio Marchionne had so much to do with that. He passed away very suddenly and unfortunately paved the way. Mike Manley is a guy that I know quite well. He's the new CEO of Fiat Chrysler Automobiles. I'm super impressed by what he's doing. One of the first things he did was recruit outside of the industry. So the new Chief Operating Officer for Chrysler North America, or FCA North America, is a guy from Amazon. And a guy who knows all about data and logistics and how you can monetize that kind of data and whatnot. I find that a fascinating move, and I think it's going to bode very well for FCA.
All right, we're going to take a little break. When we come back, we'll talk about EVs, AVs, SUVs, any other type of Vs we could throw in there. We'll be right back with John McElroy. Stay with us. And welcome back to Spotlight, talking to automotive journalist John McElroy. Always a pleasure. Before we start talking about all these different type of Vs, China, you mentioned earlier about trade wars. The Trump administration going back and forth. How is this affecting the auto industry?
It's not so much affecting the auto industry in the United States. It's definitely affecting the auto industry in China. Consumer confidence is down in China. The stock market is down in China. Car sales fell for the year for the first time in 28 years in China. So the bloom is off the rose as far as that market goes. Now, having said that, it's still a monster of a market. It's still very important. But I would say if you talk about the effect of the trade war, the real impact has been in China.
Right. Are we paying too much attention, I mean the automakers, to SUVs? I mean, all you hear is about we're making SUVs, we're scaling down on the passenger cars. Is that a smart move?
It's you got to call it on a case-by-case basis. So Toyota, Honda, Nissan, no, they're Hyundai. They're committed to passenger sedans. They're going to keep that. You talk GM, Ford, Fiat, Chrysler. They're backing out. They're not cutting all of them. They're keeping some cars. But they're only going to keep the cars where they can really make some money on them. You know, if you're in business, why would you keep making a product that doesn't sell very well? In fact, sales are going down and you lose money on it. To me, it's a no-brainer. Get out of it. And the market continues to go to, you know, we say SUVs, but, you know, the real part of it is CUVs, crossover utility vehicles, which are what? They're passenger cars with a different body on top of them. So the silhouette of the body looks more like an SUV, but everything underneath is the same thing it would be in a passenger car.
A lot of talk about mobility. We're watching Ford's big announcement last year, purchased a train station. They're going to build out the mobility campus. Everybody's talking about mobility as the future, whether it's electric cars, autonomous cars, all of the above. What do you think is realistically going to happen and what's going to be the smart move? Because it looks like a lot of guessing games going on right now and preparing yourself to be in the right spot, but not knowing if that right spot is really going to be the spot that makes money.
I know, that's the big risk for the industry. Nobody really knows where this is going. Now, with every year, the trend lines are getting clearer and clearer. But what we can see right now is that ride sharing, like Uber and Lyft and all the others, is growing far, far faster than car selling. And you take that out a decade and a half, 2 decades, and that's the threat to the industry.
All right, you've had a chance to be at the show. What do you like this year?
Go look at the new Ford Explorer. Go look at that GT 500 Mustang, Cobra GT 500. Take a look at the Cadillac XT6, 3-row crossover that they've got. If you haven't seen the Jeep Gladiator, go see that. Toyota used the show to introduce the new Supra, super uber high performance car for them. Kia with a 3-row crossover, the Telluride. I mean, the list goes on and on, Chuck. There's actually a lot to see on the floor.
All right, there's been some criticism that a lot of these cars look alike. You know, the thin headlights, the real sharp lines. any real validity to that? And are the automakers being super imaginative?
No, there's a lot of validity to that. Everything's starting to look like what they, in the industry they call a two-box crossover. Two boxes being there's a box for the engine compartment and a box for the passengers. And everyone's getting that same silhouette. In fact, I can tell you, Ford Motor Company has done a deep dive into how do you change the silhouette of this so it looks different without sacrificing interior room, luggage space, and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, we know that at this year's show, some of the foreign automakers opted not to come. Is that really affecting the show, or people aren't going to miss them that much, or we'll wait until June of 2020 and maybe they'll be back in the show?
No, it's a big problem. Yeah. Look, almost all of the European automakers have dropped out of the show. I want to say at least 10 different brands are not there. And you can see it. I mean, there's parts of the show that look terrific and look like every day of the past, but there's big gaping holes on the floor as well.
Yeah, all right, we're going to take another break. We'll hurry right back. We'll talk about what's coming up in 2020 and what effect that may have on what has become a tradition in this area. We'll be right back. Stay with us. We do see some reach back to old brands that had gone away, and now they're potentially coming back, though. Revisiting brands that were put on the shelf and now coming back, though. A little bit.
Like what? I'm not sure what you're talking about here.
Well, you got a little bit of the Supra and stuff coming back. And stuff like that.
For car brand, yeah, specific car brands, yeah. No, very interesting that Toyota has elected to bring the Supra back. I think it's been 17 or 18 years since that car was here. But it turns out that the CEO and chairman of Toyota, Akio Toyoda, is an absolute car nut. I mean, this guy loves to go racing. He likes to drive fast. He's got a real passion for product. And he is the one who insisted Toyota was going to bring back the Supra. But you know, these days, you can't do everything on your own, even if you are Toyota, which has got more money than many banks do. So they partnered with BMW to develop that car. So they're sharing the cost with that, and BMW will have its own version as well.
All right, in 2020, the auto show will go to June. So after this show is over with, we got about a year and a half, and then we've got a whole new concept.
Well, number one, they had to move the show. CES has absolutely killed the Detroit Auto Show. You know, the Europeans who dropped out of the Detroit show pretty much moved over to CES. So we had to get the Detroit show away from it. I think it's great to go into where the weather's nice, where you can put events outside of Cobo, show the river off, get a whole lot going on. The organizers of the Detroit show absolutely have an opportunity to completely reinvent what this is about and make it far better than it's ever been.
All right, you did a piece not too long ago about raising the question of whether or not you should sell cars at the auto show. Would that be a perfect opportunity to do it because it's summertime and people are going to be outside and they aren't going to be running from car to building because of the cold?
Chuck, this is not my idea. This is an idea that an executive at Ford floated past me. Why can't you sell cars right off the floor of the show? And what this guy told me was that in the Shanghai Auto Show, where you can sell cars, Lincoln sold nearly 1,000 cars at the show. Now, there's some dealer franchise things and whatnot that would have to be worked out, but come on, I mean, it's dealers who put on this show. I believe if you were able to sell cars off the floor, that would bring back all the car companies that dropped out of it. Because once they realized it wasn't just a cost to be at the Detroit Auto Show, but it's a chance to make money and sell product, I think they'd be there.
Quick final question. Throw back to 2018, Ford making the announcement to purchase the train station. How gutsy of a move was that, and what do you think that bodes for the future?
I couldn't say enough good things about it. I mean, that train station has been an eyesore. It is literally a symbol worldwide of the decay of Detroit. So to flip that around and turn it into not just a nice building again, but the hub of all this autonomy and mobility going on, I really commend the Ford Motor Company, especially Bill Ford, for having the guts and the vision to say this is what we're going to do.
All right, John McElroy, always a pleasure talking with you.
Chuck.
Thanks for giving us your insight into the auto show and the auto industry, and we'll get you back for sure.
Thanks so much.
All right, and we will head downtown. We'll talk to some of the leaders of this year's auto show right after this. Bill, thanks for joining us down at the North American International Auto Show. All right, I keep hearing the show is smaller this year, but that hasn't dampened the highlights for the show, has it?
It has not at all, and it's really not smaller. The show floor is full. We have 750 cars here. We had reveals last Monday of over 30 products. Here we've had our technology on showcase. I mean, it's off to a great start. And we also had charity preview last Friday night, which we have raised over $115 million since 1976 for the 11 Detroit area children's charities. The big thing is this is our 30th anniversary of being an international auto show. You know, 30 years ago, the Infiniti and Lexus brands were introduced at this show. So, I mean, it's really important from a product standpoint. And the other thing we have that's very unique for your viewers is we now have a dynamic. We have 2 tracks, for instance, on the show floor with moving cars.
Yeah, I keep hearing the word mobility, autonomous, a lot of that being shown here, get everybody ready for all of that. Do you really feel that's the future of this industry?
Certainly all of our vehicles are having more technology put into them. I mean, we started out with blind spot monitors, those. Now we have lane departure warnings. We have adaptive cruise controls that help us brake our cars or keep gaps on the road. And that's just the start of it. You know, there's going to come a time when the cars are talking to each other and the cars are talking to the city, and that's making sure that we're getting through the city as quickly as possible because lights can change, that kind of stuff, plus the ability of autonomous cars and the other things that can bring to the marketplace. But it's a ways off, but it is certainly coming.
One thing about this show, it has always been family friendly.
Yes.
How do you keep the ticket prices down and keep marketing it so that everybody realizes, you know, it's not just the high rollers, it's not just the mom and dads, it's for everybody to come in here.
The prices have been very stable. It's $14 for an adult, it's $7 for a senior over 65 and a child from 7 to 12, and 6 and under are free. Mr.
North, 30 years of being an international show in this spot, but that's going to change in 2020. You got to be excited with the opportunity, but also a little scared of what's coming.
Well, it's certainly not a small task, I guess, but we're really excited to make the change. We've been planning and had a lot of different reviews and conversations over several years about ways that we could improve it, make it more meaningful to both consumers and manufacturers. And so, yes, it's a big move, but we're really excited about the opportunity to have the great weather and be downtown and have 14 acres outside.
And it's safe to say it will be more of an outside event than it will be an indoors event. But beyond that, you know, there's still a whole lot to put together.
There is, and we'll still have all of Cobo like we do now, and it will also have both static and dynamic displays. So you're going to see more moving vehicles in Cobo, as well as static and dynamic displays outside. We have 14 acres in Hart Plaza, including the entertainment area in the middle. And so you're really going to see both. You're going to see their technology that they can display now in a way where consumers can actually interact more one-on-one with it, as opposed to just kind of walking by and kicking a tire. So both inside and out, you're going to see those kinds of displays, as well as a lot of technology.
Yeah, the industry has obviously changed in terms of how you market it, how you sell it. Social media has a big effect in all of it as well. What do you look to as sort of a role model, since there's nothing quite like this for the auto industry so far, but obviously you got to look around and get ideas from other places, right?
Certainly. We've certainly been reviewing other auto shows. We traveled to those shows throughout the year, Geneva, Paris, LA, depends on the year. but we always are looking at those shows to see what they're doing that might benefit our show, as well as other types of shows. We visited South by Southwest last year, Goodwood, Festival of Speed in England, and so we're looking at a variety of events that can help us plan our event. But ours is going to be unlike any of them. There's no place in the world that has Cobo Hall like we have here, with 14 acres right outside, and it's right here. Not to mention it's on our fantastic waterfront, and we have all of the great things that are happening in our downtown area and the renaissance of our city on display, and have 70 degrees and be able to park almost anywhere and walk. What a change and a grateful opportunity that is for everybody.
Since this will be for the public, what are you doing to be able to take input from the public if they have ideas? Because I imagine everybody has an opinion about how to do this.
They do, you're right, and believe me, there's no shortage of ideas. We're getting input from everywhere. In fact, all of our stakeholders, manufacturers, suppliers, city, state, everyone that is involved in this event has been contributing in really positive and exciting ways, and we really have everyone's support. It's been really fantastic because everybody knows that we have to continue to evolve as a show to have meaning and to be important in our industry, but we've got their support, so it's really exciting to have all of those different constituencies in your corner.
Final question, this all started because of the dealers. You're now making a big transition to go along with helping the dealers. As a dealer, what is it that you are hearing from your colleagues that we need in a big way to make sure that we can continue to be very successful in selling cars and trucks in America?
You know, we've had virtually universal support from my colleagues, from gentlemen and women that have not served on our board, as well as those that have and have chaired previous shows. And everybody knows that consumers are looking for different things now, as are manufacturers. And we're going to try and provide them a better landscape to show their product and have consumers interact, improve their value proposition, and have it really become a can't-miss event for manufacturers as well as consumers.
All right, they'll do it. Best of luck.
Thanks so much.
We can't wait for 2020 to get around here. So you got a year and a half, and it'll all be at our front doorstep.
It sure will, and we're really looking forward to it. Thank you.
Best of luck.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Good. Special thanks to all of my guests today. Don't forget to come down for the Channel 7 Family Day next Monday. I'm Chuck Stokes. We'll be back next week with more newsmakers in the spotlight from Cobo Convention Center and the North American International Auto Show. Have a good week.